It's a quiet day in the farmlands of Battania. The sheep are grazing in the grass, unknowingly, unwittingly doing nothing at all, but that is what sheep do. A little boy is running around in the village. A village in which he lives. Although when he enters the center of the little village and the flames are going up into the sky, meeting some of his fellow townsmen, he cannot help but slow down and relax and look down to find some food. He looks at this food, really thoroughly looks at this food with eyes that could kill things just by looking at them. But oh, the little young Vladimir. No, the food did not entice him so. This wonderful, peaceful village was just not to his liking whatsoever. As he grew and grew into a young man, something was gnawing at his insides more and more. The peaceful life was too much. He could not bear it. One day, when he was old enough, the darkness was too powerful, too great, too strong within him, and he knew what he had to do. He needed to leave this place and enlist in the army for the blood and glory that would await him as a soldier in his liege lord Caladog's army. Yo everyone, welcome to a new story where we follow our new intrepid hero, Vladimir. A young boy with a dark secret, very dark secret indeed. Ever since he grew up, he had an unholy hunger within his belly. Something that has been begging for release. Something he will be able to feed once he joins the ranks of Battania's finest. Although first, of course, he must wait for them to leave the castle. Caladog, the lord of the Battanians. Indeed. He wants to serve as a soldier and joins his warband. Now, something young Vlad has been doing all his life is he has been tracking around, scouting, hunting little animals in his village. So, as such, he of course begged Caladog to let him use his skills. And he even seems to have helped High King Caladog scout some deserters who are going to strike at this village, a neighboring village of Beglamoir, which he has visited much. Indeed, he grew up in Dalmangas, as you saw before, but now a massive army of deserters is striking at his liege's party. His first chance to taste the blood of his enemies. Indeed, the dark secret of the young Vlad is that he hungers for blood. And we are showing that in this series by having the health on kill mod installed. Except for just by healing on kill, he will also heal on hurting his enemies. Because having the blood of his foes drip into his face is quite reinvigorating. Indeed, these deserters will prove a good chance for the young Vlad to taste death. Or defeat. As he takes spears into the face, but his supernatural powers come into effect as he drains the blood of the enemies he attacks. He may yet live to see this day. Let's see if he can heal up by smashing this man with a hammer. He can. He can indeed a little bit. Oh. Oh. He's still in it. He is not down yet, but an entire army is encroaching on him and he is out of line. Luckily, I was going to say that the army caught up with him, but he was knocked out. A little poor boy. Luckily for the young Vlad, Caladog is a man of strength and power and fought back the deserters. Not only that, he recognized the power in Vladimir's arms and pulled him out of the dirt, covered in blood. Dear God, that was a lot of charm. This man, the elder of the village who recognized young Vlad, even thanked him personally. Vlad had never felt so reinvigorated before in his entire life. He felt good. And whilst he wanted to train with the troops, he was a little bit out of sorts after that. After a little waiting in Maranath, however, it was time to practice with the other soldiers. But first, looking at Vladimir's skills, we can see that he is quite cunning. Although his control over himself has been honed by not drinking blood of anybody for a long time. However, as a soldier in an army, he was going to need some endurance and some charm everyone around him. However, soon he will have to learn to use his weapons up close more properly, even though he is a young and weak boy. He will be training his melee skills though, considering the stick, but perhaps the big two-handed sword is the smarter move. Let's see how long he can keep going by healing, even if it's a small amount from this enemy. He's not doing a lot of damage now, is he? But he's doing a good job against this man. This man has nothing on him. In fact, sure seems like he can go on forever, doesn't it? Seems that the little boy is a little bit too fast for this old man, even if he could do special moves like such.
2,000 years later.
And he defeated him! My goodness, he actually managed! It granted him 3 levels! My goodness! How excellent. Enough to really be able to invest in some stats that he needed before. But of course, Caladog would not stay in the main city forever, because poachers had decided to integrate themselves into a nearby settlement. Something that Caladog could not abide by, and something that Vladimir could not either. A fellow village infested with criminal poachers. How could they? The innocents within, forced to endure. Such was no good. After unleashing a few arrows, he decided it was time to go deep, to go in, to become a real man. And thus, with his state-issued hammer maul thingy slap-a-noodle, he went right in. Helped them drive off the damned poachers, and then had to shoot them in the back as they fled. Truly, battle was exactly what our hero Vladimir desired. He felt good. Like a hero, even. Oh yes, all was well. And then suddenly, 2 pairs of mercenary scum, traitors, originally of Battania, decided to join someone else, to strike at Caladog. This is not something that Vladimir could back down from. Oh no. Something had to be done. Oh dear. A big, real, proper battle. Not against bandits and criminals, but against mercenaries. Whilst the deserters had been trained soldiers, they had no leader. These men did. Multiple, in fact. And they were charging straight at their army. There was little warning to the strike. How was Vladimir going to handle this? He stood bravely, and when the enemies drew ever closer, that is when he realized it. The enemies were archers, and they were walking right up to them. What was their end goal? They had the strangest of plans, and Vladimir was not sure what it was. That was until he realized that only the archers of his own army were able to fight back. The horsemen were going in, sure, but the infantry were just standing there like nothing, taking the arrows like they were absolute buffoons, baboons, and monkeys. Vladimir could not understand this tactic, but he had full faith in Caladog. Oh yes, he certainly did. There was no way that Caladog didn't know what he was doing. Until he heard that the archers were to charge. Not that he needed much encouragement, as the enemies were charging at him themselves. Ah! He went in, Soul, just him. Luckily, there was ability to retreat. Ah! He had to retreat, as he was the only one going in. Oh! And then he was defeated. And it seemed that Caladog was not far behind, as his soldiers were still just standing still, taking the hail of arrows from enemies so close to them. When the charge finally came, it was much too late. Caladog had already let his army suck up the arrows like sponges. Vladimir did not know what had happened. But there was no way it was Caladog's fault, right? However, as Caladog was defeated and taken prisoner by Udris of the Wolfskins, Vladimir was let go. He was let go, as there was obviously no use for him, for them. It was just a little boy. So he would have to go around and recruit some fellow men to keep him safe on the roads. And then he met a man who needed grain. Ah, a good old friend. He can find some bushels of grain for this man. He's an old friend, and he needed the coin anyway. He knows that different towns have different prices. And this town's grain was a little bit cheaper. He got himself an extra horse, grabbed the grain that he needed, and started riding right back. Taking a little look at Mag-Ara on the way to get a couple of more lads with him. Now one might ask, how could such a young man encourage these recruits to join him on his path? Well, he didn't know it, but the deadly serious and bloodthirsty look in his eye was inspiring to others. And the fact that Vladimir was covered in blood. He gives back the grain to the man, and the man is happy. But what Vlad did not realize is that the man had no intention of paying for the grain. He was just taking it. That was something that Vladimir had not expected, and something he did not appreciate. They all needed grain. And when the third village needed grain, he decided to scam them, because he was tired of it. And he failed, criminally. They didn't appreciate his little antics. But luckily for him, Corrine, the daughter of Caladog, was nearby. And surely the daughter of High King Caladog was a competent woman. And as such, he enlisted in her warband as a soldier. And as he did, the party was attacked, ambushed even, as if the people themselves had been chasing Vladimir. Was it the nearby village that did not appreciate his scamming? He was in fact not even able to get his bow out. He was caught in his pajamas. It was an enemy bandit party only of mounted troops. Vladimir was rather afraid of this. So many horsemen. Some of them even had bows, much to his dismay. But there was something strange. The blood of horses was not satisfying at all. The dark craving in his body needed different kind of blood to sustain him. The blood of people. And so, consumed by this need for human blood, he rushed up like a headless chicken to slap at them with his maul. His continued striking only furthering his desire and his strength and his vigor. A spear! Perfect for dismounting those silly riders. Oh yes, the blood of this spear was piercing the enemies, and he liked it. A man that fell off his horse. Well, that looks like free game for a small craze. Vladimir doesn't it? If he was only the owner of larger, longer legs, then he could have maybe caught up. The little boy was covered in blood, and he loved it. It seemed most of the ambush had been dealt with. Indeed, one or two may be riding around, trying to come back and strike. His friends were defeated. He looked at the man and went for him head on, and took out that horse. Slapped down the man, and then went to cheer with his fellow Battanians at their victory. They had defeated the scouting party. Yes, highborn youth, we did it! Why are you going so... Yeah, never mind. And thanks to Vladimir's efforts, Corinne promoted him instantly. She was very impressed, especially as his vigor and fury increased with the duration of the battle, unlike all men whose vigor would decline. Oh, she liked it. Vladimir was given some new gear, higher wage, and he forgot to ask to scout. He did have to bribe Corinne a hefty sum of money for that, as she thought the promotion had been quite enough. Alas, Vladimir had to use the last of his money to become the scout of the party, and hoped that this massive army of the invading empire would not cause him to lose another lord. As luck would have it, extra help arrived, and it seemed perhaps that Vladimir would be able to taste the blood of cultural enemies. It seemed that there were no ambushes in sight, no. The only ambushes that had occurred was that of the Battanians on the Imperials, who were running for their lives. But these forests and these hills, well, they are Battanian territory, not something that these Imperials could hope to outrun Battanians in. As they grew closer, the entire armies, the bowmen, well, Vladimir was happy to be striking, even if he didn't know if his attacks were hitting or not. He was glad to be advancing on the enemies. Standing back, doing nothing, well, that was not his liking. Striking at the front lines was exactly what he wanted to do, even if he was a bit vulnerable. He was not quite as coordinated as everyone else, being a little kid. But he was trying his very best. As the rest of the soldiers charged in, so too would he, with the shield now, safer than before. The Battanians were striking with utter power, and despite the Imperial strong armor, it seemed they could not match the strength and numbers of the Woodwraiths. And the blood of their enemies was flowing all over. In the midst of battle, it was a massacre, bloody and deadly, even as he struggled to cut through the big adult bodies of even the least armored enemies. It didn't matter. As they were slaughtered, their deaths sustained Vladimir. His strength would not wane against these scum. It was a great victory. It seems that even one of the other lords, Prindor, appreciated Vladimir's efforts. Truly, the boy was gaining the favor. When they returned to the town, it seemed that Corrine wanted to take him aside to have a little chat. Vladimir was a little bit worried. Corrine was a fierce warrior, and he had lost his mind a little bit during the frenzy. Had he made a mistake? Actually, Corrine wanted him to train some of her troops. Recruits? Him? Vladimir? He had to say yes. Even so, he wasn't sure how to train recruits, so he gave them some rudimentary instructions. Throw the things at them was one. Seems to work rather well, until someone was up close. Circle them! Block! Strike at the head! If you are close, they cannot strike too much. Seems that these men that they were training against were much too powerful though. Barely gaining any headway in damaging them. But this next man, oh no, he had a shield! Ah! Luckily, hitting people in the head with these things works out just as well as you'd hope. Unfortunately, javelins are not infinite. And the enemies that they kept throwing at the recruits got more and more tough. Nothing that the trainees of Vladimir couldn't handle, though, surely. And that was one recruit down. The one that could not... Well, that recruit couldn't keep defeating him. But he was doing good. Could this next recruit do better? Or just as well? A big, heavy weapon was tough against a fast, skilled opponent. Well, no, that recruit couldn't handle it. The dude was too fast. Luckily, the next recruit's stick was rather useful. Following man seemed to be going for a stabbing strategy, which, for these sorts of sticks, and this close up, was certainly not the best move. A bowman? In training? Did not seem quite fair, did it? And he managed to swap to sword. How droll. But it did seem that Vladimir was gaining some experience as a leader. Quite something. He taught the recruits how to use the environment to their advantage. And oh, they did. This recruit, in particular, was learning to do the overhand swing quite well. And was quickly gaining the necessary experience. He even managed to crush a shield. Impressive. This recruit. Now this recruit certainly deserved something, didn't he? He was defeating them all, and he was doing it fast. So skilled, in fact, he was defeating trained men like they were nothing at all. A rather impressive feat from an unknown man that Vladimir had not known ever before. Where did he come from? How did he get here? How was he so powerful? He had even completed the training and he refused to continue. Well, when I say refused to continue, he refused to stop. Continuing was all he wished to do. He would not let this man continuously defy him. Oh no, he would end it victoriously. And so he did. And my, oh my, was Corrine happy with Vladimir's performance. Extremely so. And Vladimir was happy as well. And it seemed that perhaps he had found a new friend. That recruit had listened to everything he had said. Or had he? Or had he just been naturally skilled? And that was it for now. It seemed that the young Vladimir had gained lots of skills, respect, and strength. Vladimir, a little boy, a little Battanian boy, slowly earning his place in Corrine's army. Gaining strength, gaining power, drinking the blood of his enemies. This little boy was determined to make his leader proud and to become the ultimate warrior that Battania had ever yet seen. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.